Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome to another commoner video here on Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Our last two commoner crawls here in Portland have been won by this gentleman, Mr. Chet McNasty, aka
Hello.
Jesse Valdez. So he's going to walk us through his Aria Break the Chain Beatdown deck. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey folks, thanks for checking back in today, talking commoner. So Jesse, thanks for joining us. How's it going, my friend?
Going pretty well. Just coming off the back of winning 2 commoner crawls here. With this super awesome Aria deck that we're going to go over today. This thing is super powerful. It can just bash your face in super quickly, especially with how fast this format's played. It's got a lot of power behind it. We're going to go over that.
Awesome. So how did you, where'd you come up with this one? Or was it, it just looks like a value deck to me, right?
It's really heavy on the value. And so where it came from is actually one of my other teammates, Sam Ewan. He designed and made this whole deck on his own. I've just been piloting it for a while, but the entire feel of how the deck functions and like the ultimate, like your game strategy going forward, and doing everything fully, it's just exactly the way I like to play Flesh and Blood. Super aggressive, super in your face. This deck's great.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about it. So first, let's hear a little bit about you. Where are you from? What teams do you play with? What's your stick?
So I'm here in the good old Portland, Oregon, a very thriving Flesh and Blood community right now, as you probably are well aware of. I am the captain of Team Foundry that is run by Travis Reeder of Fab Foundry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for those, a lot of people that probably watch your show are familiar with Fab Foundry and the singles market that he has and all that. But I run his competitive team, and we play a lot of Flesh and Blood. We try to win a lot of Flesh and Blood. We just had one of our teammates in the top 8 of the calling in San Jose. So congrats to him, Nathan Dolman, everyone. Guy was awesome, played Rhinar, and just rocked it.
So he was the other Rhinar.
Yes, he was the one that didn't win, unfortunately.
Hey, top 8 with Rhinar is awesome.
Yeah, and especially with just like the big field that we have right now, where Rhinar can like really, really shine into Icelander, into Fies, if you know how to like play that matchup. Yeah, super good deck right now. And just a shout out to when you get deck checked for any reason, you guys really got to shuffle those cards. The judges do not put them back in a shuffled way. They just put them back in the deck. So shuffle your deck like 30 times, everybody. Just a heads up.
I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So Aria, what are we calling it again? It is Break the Chain Beatdown. That's right. Break the Chain Beatdown. Yep. Go ahead and walk us through the strategy here. I'll go ahead and bring up the deck list. But go ahead and walk us through kind of the strategy here, and then we can actually read the deck out and then kind of talk about some important points.
So the strategy is pretty easy if you've ever played Aria before. Aria has this ability that on your second attack every turn, you get +1. So a lot of the times when you're leading with a Kodachi for 1 and your second Kodachi for 2, you're usually always pushing 3 and just pitching a card to do that, which is really, really where your numbers want to be. Especially in this format. So where we are trying to build this deck every given turn is we want to be going Kodachi for 1, Kodachi for 2, into another attack, be that take the tempo, critical strike, soul bead strike, or a leg tap. But a lot of the time I'm choosing on our leg tap turns because I run 2 red leg taps and 4 of the Rising Knee Thrusts, I'm waiting on a turn where I'm actually going to have those cards line up. And if I can get to that, that's pretty much how I'm going to build like to an entire 5-card hand turn. Either I pocket a leg tap or I'm pocketing a defense reaction in most cases. So on like a normal turn, like I was saying, we're going to go Kodachi, a 1 for 5 or a 0 for 4 with Go Again, unless we have that leg tap Rising Knee Thrust combo. The other cards we're hoping to have in hand is a big attack or that defense react. Now, if we get into the early game here and we are like maybe like 2 or 3 turns in, regardless if we currently don't have tempo or we have tempo, if we get something that costs more than 2, we're just going to throw like our whole hand at it. We're going to do that 1, 2, 4, 5. We're going to have Snapdragon Scalers open still at this point. We're going to crack those if we need to give it Go Again. And then with our Hardened Cross Strap that we're going to be wearing and our Goliath Gauntlet, we are going to just crack both those, break the chain, and we're just going to throw 8 or a 9 at them. Now, you got to play this a little different when you're going to be coming in with the flying kick, because you're going to have to pretty much like show that on the board that that's what you're coming with. And usually with that, we're going to have a turn where it's going to be like Kodachi, flying kick for 7 or 9, because of how just the whole chain's going to be, unless we want to like lead with a leg tap into our whole combo there. But that's neither here nor there. This deck also has a really easy function when it comes to being able to turtle down. It does have quite a bit of 2 blocks there. It has the head jabs. It has the what's that card called? I'm looking at a small version of your screen here. Whirling Mist Blossom. I don't play a ton of Ira, and that's like the only specialization I've ever seen, at least, that comes in a common form. So Ira also has that going for her. She has a specialization, a card only she can use in a format where no one else has something like that. So that's also pretty huge. But yeah, the whole end game just comes down to like really just throwing like 7+ damage turns at your opponent every go around, pocketing your defense reacts or pocketing a red leg tap so that you can either build into a combo or you can just have surprise defense reacts out of your arsenal. Nothing like too crazy, I would say, but yeah, this deck is insane, especially in this format.
All right, so let me go ahead and read through the deck, because when you and I played I think you and I played round 3 2 crawls ago, and I was on Prism because I was trying something, but you caught me off guard with your poppers. So we have in the reds we have 2 Brutal Assault, so that's a 6/3 out of, excuse me, it's a 2 for 6 with 3 defense out of crew. Very good card. Critical Strike's a 1/5 red. Favor Seen, Flying Kick. You are running 2 of those. I know sometimes people only run 1 of those in Ira because that's their cross strap play, but as you just mentioned, that's not your prime win there. Leg tap, push the point. Push the point's very common in Ira after to follow a Kodachi. 2 Razors makes sense. 2 Sink Belows. Soul Bead red and blue. And then Stony Wootenhog. So this one I thought was pretty hot. So talk to us about the Stony Wootenhog.
Stony Wootenhog is everyone's favorite card out of this deck, I swear. It's the one card when I play it, I've already attacked for like 7. I break the chain, then I break Goliath, and I break my Hardened Cross Strap, and I just slap down a Stony Wootenhog. They're like, oh, Stony Wootenhog. I forgot that was a card. But this thing is awesome, especially into how your ninja turns are functioning. So by the time you're there threatening that second Kodachi for 2, your opponent a lot of the time is already thinking like, okay, what are you trying to turn this turn into? Like, are you going to continue throwing damage at me, or are you going to like slow down, pocket a defense react, whatnot? So this is when their brain starts ticking, and should I defend? And so once they have that idea, especially if your second attack is a 4 or a 5, and then you're just going to still have Snapdragons open, or you're going to already have that having Go Again. You might even have a Razor Reflex ready to push some damage over and get that Go Again. Once you start doing that and they're defending with cards, when your last thing you do on a turn is Stony Wootenhog, which if you don't know what the card does, it costs 2, comes in for 6. And if they don't defend with at least 2 non-equipment cards, it gets +1. So right away, this card's essentially attacking for 7, unless you block with 2 cards from your hand or a card from hand, card out of arsenal, like that. So when you're threatening this at the end of the chain, and they've most likely already blocked with the cards they want to block with to still have a turn that's going to like do something against you, and then now you're throwing a card down that's getting additional value off the fact they aren't blocking, it's just a way to have these huge swings where they either give up a whole turn or you end up pushing an additional damage on top of like what a relentless assault would get you. Sorry, a brutal assault.
Yeah, very nice. And that one does defend for 2, I think is the one drawback there, right? But yeah, either way. And then Torrent of Tempo, no surprise to an Ira deck there. Into the yellows, Rising Knee, yellow, and Salt the Wound. Salt the Wound, I think, no surprise. Whirling Mist, I think, is no surprise. So a lot of times the blue Rising Knee is very common. The yellow Rising Knee, not as much. So why did you guys land on a yellow one, not a red one? I'm just curious on was it just the pitch math or?
It really just comes all down to the pitch math. And I also like to think personally, at least for me, that one card at least every turn is going to not work unless I'm going to take a bunch of damage. So that the yellow Rising Knee Thrust just kind of fit that for me. They block for 3. They'd allow me to come with Kodachi, and like a red Soulbead Strike for 4. Give it if that's like all I got. And it's also usually the first card that I'm willing to give up and use as a block if I don't have a leg tap already set up in Arsenal or I drew them both together.
Okay, makes sense.
And those are the turns where like you're really going to pop off because you'll swing both Kodachis off a blue 0 cost. You'll leg tap, Rising Knee Thrust. And then if you got it, if you have the 2 cost, you break Cross Strap and Goliath Gauntlet. And all of a sudden, you've just pushed a 19 damage turn, like, out of nowhere.
Yes, I was on the receiving end of one of those. And, yeah, fair enough. All right, and then blue, we have Head Jab. Great card there. Rising Knee Thrust, Soulbead Strike, Whelming Gust Wave, and then Whisper the Oracle. So, again, all 0 blues that defend for 3. I believe those all... Head Jab's a 2 defense. Head Jab's a 2 defense.
The Head
Jab. Whisper the Oracle is a 3, and then Wounding Blow, again, it's... can swing for, it's basically Soulbead Strike with no goes. It's a fundamental card. Into the weapons, Kodachi ×2, of course. You do have the Scales, and then you have the Gauntlet. So the Goliath Gauntlet, the Cross Strap, I think you walked us through that one. In what matches are you running the Scales?
So far, when I originally got this list, the Scalers were in there, and it's a decent block, but the only things they're going to affect for their secondary +1 damage on the combo is the any one of the Rising Knee Thrusts, which we're not going to even be playing unless we have a leg tap combo, which honestly, I feel like I get those less than half my games. I don't rely on them. They're just like, if you end up with the leg tap, that's like a better arsenal target than most anything else in the deck other than the Sink Belows and Fate Foreseens that I would run that. So I don't really, to be honest, it's just in there as filler.
Yeah, you got the room. You got the room.
Yeah.
Why not? Ironrot Helm, Null Rune, Gloves, Hood, and Robe. So you're keeping Snappies is the plan there. And then Snappies and Tide Flippers. Right? Sorry, you're not keeping Snappies, but you have the Flippers, right? So makes sense. So let's talk Iyslander here. What's your play strategy into Iyslander? Because who is very, very, very strong in this format.
So the play style into Iyslander, that is the hardest one. We do have almost, because it's 22 reds, 6 yellows, 12 blues. So we have like a pretty decent spread when it comes to Iyslander. I actually have some of the math here in front of me. So we're pretty much always guaranteed to draw blue on any given turn. Well, we have like a 43% chance to do that. So your blues and your yellows are pretty much where you need to put that extra offensive. It's rough. It's definitely one of the roughest matchups, but I normally run like Norrune Hood, the Tide Flippers. Then you have your Goliath Gauntlet, Heart and Crossstrap strategy. You never break that until they have already thrown out their ice. Because if you break that as the first thing, and then they just come in and they're able to like shut down your whole turn, normally you're only going to get the Frostbite anyway, unless they throw an Arctic Incarceration at you, which will be 2 Frostbites in that instance. But it just comes down to being able to like play around with your resources. Know you're probably not going to be able to swing both Kodachis every turn, and just find your way to deal with that. But there's enough like extra in the deck where you like Kodachi 1 that everyone always lets 1 hit, and then you like push the point right after. And you can do that off 2 cards. So as long as it just comes down to like not getting bricked with your like all red turns, and you know, just playing around everything right, reading what they're pitching, knowing that it's always going to be an ice blue out of Arsenal, or just assuming it every turn, so your pitching is always as what you need to be.
Yeah, fair enough. And then just out of curiosity, did you run up against that Moonwish Kano on Sunday?
I did not, okay. But I was worried about it.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
It seemed really good. I think any Arcane in this format just can completely outclass some heroes if they're not ready for it.
Yep, fair enough. All right, well, any other tips or tricks or thoughts on this one? Anything maybe you'd... I mean, obviously you've won twice on this, so it's a pretty refined list, but anything maybe you're looking at exploring, or?
If anything, it's cutting more reds. I know that's not really what I want to do to make the deck more aggressive, but there was, in my last game on this most recent Commoner Crawl, we hit a point in the game where all I needed to do was not brick my hand, and the game was over. All I needed was a blue and then like any 1-cost red, and all I drew was 4 reds that all cost either 1 or 2. So when you get into these, you know, I still had Snapdragons up. I was able to play around it, still like throw 10 damage out, but I had to play my whole hand. I couldn't block with anything, and luckily their crackback was really, really minimal. But you can get into situations like that still. I mean, you can do that with any deck, but if anything, it would be, how do I minimize these 1 costs so that even if this happens, I can still like build off of my Kodachis for a winning strategy.
Okay, sounds good.
So figuring that out, however that'll go.
Yeah, interesting. Well, congrats, you got your Regicide, which was pretty sweet. Yeah, but no, thanks for taking the time out of your week to sit here and chat with us in Commonerville here on the channel. So before we wrap it up, do you have any other... I know you kind of shouted out the team earlier, but any other shout-outs to give, or where can people find you and all that good stuff?
So you can find me. I'm on the Discords, Chet McNasty, number 0508. I'm going to be doing all of the commissioner work for the upcoming Fab Team Cup, which I actually saw your team is going to be a part of. We've got to get you your roster list sent soon. So be on the lookout for that. You can go to the Fab Team Cup YouTube channel. We're going to have a bunch of people that, like, even streamers and stuff you already know, that are going to be on there, posting live streams, posting videos. It's going to start popping off once we start this next Monday. You can find me at STC Collectibles, or it's ST Collectibles. That's my YouTube channel. I used to post a lot more, but I've slowed down over the last almost year now. But we're jumping back into it. We got a lot of content that'll be on the Fab Foundry YouTube channel too. Me and my new roommate, who's also part of our team, we're going to start a Commoner series where we break down a lot of the really high, just the really good meta decks of Commoner, and like how you beat them, how you pilot them, and just ways you can kind of like tinker your strategy to like go against the decks that we will be, the ones that we'll be talking about. Like as we go into like deck 5, it's like, how does deck 5 beat decks 1, 2, and 3? kind of thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, cool. Looking forward to that, and can figure out. You can tell us all how we're supposed to beat Icelander, because she's good.
She is really good.
All right.
Luckily,
cool.
Thank God her health's lower.
Yeah. Yeah, not 15 though, not 15. But anyway, we digress. Well, seriously, man, thank you. I really appreciate your time this evening. We'll have you on again, whether to talk common or something else.
Thank you very much.
You got to say it with me, man. 3, 2, 1. Go Commando.
Go Commando. Yes.